Hello everybody, welcome to World War II at Home and in the Suburbs. This is a history presentation from the Raupp Museum in Buffalo Grove. My name is Debbie Fondre, I'm the curator of the museum, and I'm the one who will be talking to you today. Maybe it won't come over here. In the beginning of World War II, from about 1939 to early 1941, people in the suburbs knew that the war was going on in Europe and in Asia. It was in the news, but it still seemed far away from the United States. The map shows all the different places that war was happening in Europe, but Europe was still an ocean away. The government thought that we might have to join the war, so they started the first ever peacetime draft to make sure there would be enough soldiers if that happened. Even so, people still hoped the fighting would not affect us too much. So you can see the newspaper headlines, churches and peace groups in rally at Soldier Field. Many ways to fight Nazism at home. People thought maybe if we could help Europe but not get in the war, that would be the best thing. But finally, draftees to register at schoolhouses. So what is a draft? A draft is when the government makes people join the military. Everyone has to sign up, and each person is given a number. If the government calls your number, then you have to join the Army or the Navy. On December 7th, 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii changed everything. If Hawaii could be attacked, then other places could be attacked too. The United States was now at war. Many men joined the Army as volunteers. Many more were drafted. The Army grew from 1.5 million men to 3 million men in just 1 year. By the end of the war, almost 12 million men would be in the military. They needed it, but there's a different problem. If 12 million men leave their jobs and their homes, what happens to their families? What else changed after Pearl Harbor? Would school feel different if I was a kid then? School would absolutely feel different, and schools made changes right away. After Pearl Harbor, people worried about another bombing attack. Schools made plans to keep students safe. Students practiced what to do in an emergency. You can see the poster, what school teachers and pupils should do in an air raid. That meant if airplanes came to bomb the school. And in the picture, you see students practicing how to hide and keep themselves safe. So they would have safety drills for different emergencies then, just like you would have safety drills now. Also, you would suddenly start seeing soldiers and sailors everywhere. If you lived in Buffalo Grove or Wheeling, you would suddenly be seeing many more soldiers and sailors all of the time. They were in trains and in cars and everywhere. The sailors were going to Great Lakes Navy Base in North Chicago. The soldiers were going over to Fort Sheridan in Glenview. Over 1 million sailors would be trained at Great Lakes before the war was done. That meant 648 new people coming every single day for 4 years in a row. Rudy Horker from Buffalo Grove joined the Navy during World War II and received his training at Great Lakes. This shirt is from his uniform. It is wool for cold weather. The pants that go with it have 13 buttons, but no zipper. Zippers weren't used for uniform pants yet. Imagine that. Airplanes. You wouldn't just see the soldiers and sailors. If you were living in Buffalo Grove and Wheeling, you would also hear airplanes. Navy pilots were coming to Illinois to do their training on ships in Lake Michigan. If you look at the picture on the left, you can see Navy Pier in Chicago was actually a pier for the Navy ships. That's how it started out. Planes would take off from the ships, fly over Lake Michigan, and then turn around and fly over the towns around Chicago. You can see a plane landing a little bit not quite good in the picture on the right. And sometimes they really missed and went into Lake Michigan. In fact, sometimes the planes missed the ship and landed in Lake Michigan. World War II planes are pulled up from the bottom of the lake even today. There's still many more down there. Going to war takes work from everyone. Since the men were off fighting the war, many women were needed to do jobs at home. Schools offered classes so that women could learn the new skills they would need for these jobs. That's the middle picture there of an article of different classes that were being offered at the high school at night for women. Some jobs for women were traditional, like nursing. Some jobs were very different, like building airplanes or driving a bus. Usually, women hadn't done those jobs before. Do you think it was important that the women tried new jobs? Do you think maybe some women thought it was exciting? Going to war also takes food, lots of food. Some of the food that was normally in the stores would have to go to feed the soldiers. Since people could not buy as much food as they wanted, many people grew extra food in gardens. Those were called victory gardens. Sometimes schools dug up part of the playground and planted gardens for the students to take care of. So you could have a victory garden at your house, but lots of times schools would have a victory garden at the school too that the kids would take care of. That's what they're doing in the picture on the right-hand side, is growing things in the garden at school. The government was afraid we'd run out of everything. You can see the poster on the left-hand side. Where's the meat? There's the meat. It wasn't just in the store, it was going all over the world to feed all the soldiers and sailors and sick people and residents everywhere. So the government was afraid we would run out of food, gas, shoes, tires, clothes. If one person bought too much, then someone else would not have enough. To solve that problem, the government started rationing certain products. Rationing means there are rules about how much of something a family can buy. You can see that's the poster on the right. Without rationing, one lady's walking off with 6 cans of something, and the other lady doesn't get any. Rationing meant everybody could get a few cans, but nobody could hoard all the cans in order to take it all for themselves. How did rationing work? Everyone in your family got a ration book. The book had stamps in it for each thing that was rationed: sugar, shoes, meat. When you bought something at the store, you paid money, but you also turned in stamps for each thing you bought. When you were out of stamps, you couldn't buy that product anymore. That meant people couldn't buy things at one store and then go to another store and buy the same things all over again. Once you were out of stamps, that's all you could buy. How much would I get? A kid's ration of meat was 1/4 pound of meat per day. That's about the size of a small hamburger. Coffee was rationed too. Adults could buy 1 pound of coffee every 5 weeks. Transportation was also harder. Rationing wasn't just about food. Gas was rationed too. Most families were allowed to buy only 3 gallons of gas per week. That was serious because cars only got about 15 miles per gallon, so the most you could go was about 45 miles per week. Think about that. What do you think people did to save gas? The picture shows a car during World War II, and there's a couple things to notice. First of all, it doesn't have a front bumper anymore made out of metal, does it? That's made out of wood because the bumpers were recycled. Second of all, look in the front window. See the A card on the car's front windshield? That was the car most families would have that told how much gas you were allowed to get. Recycling wasn't just for car bumpers. Recycling was a way for kids to help. Factories needed all of the metal they could get to make ships and planes. Kids helped the war effort by gathering up metal things, like buckets and old pots and pans, to be recycled. Schools would hold contests to see who could collect the most metal. There's an example of a school contest in the picture, and the article talks about it too, about 3 boys from Arlington Heights who did 2 recycling drives all by themselves and found enough scrap metal to take up 2 front yards. We even recycled fat. Imagine that. If you fried bacon or any other kind of meat at home, you would pour the melted fat into a can and save it. When the can was full, you could take it to the butcher and get extra points for your meat ration. It sounds weird, right? What was the recycled fat used for? There was a chemical in the fat which could be used to help make explosives. Kids also helped by saving money. At home, you could save money to buy war stamps and war bonds. They worked a little bit like a savings account. You gave the government money today, and they promised to give you more money years after the war was over. So you could save at home, but you know what? At school, your class might work to save money together. If you saved enough, you could sponsor a Jeep. That's the poster on the bottom right for classes. If everyone in the class saved money together, you could help sponsor a Jeep or even an airplane. So people helped by recycling, people helped by saving money, and everyone helped by writing letters. Whether you were a soldier that went away to fight or a family member who stayed at home, war was hard. People missed each other, and sometimes they got scared and lonely. The best way to solve that was to write letters to everyone that you missed. Remember, we didn't have cell phones then, and we didn't have email. Did you know? Letters weigh a lot, and they also take up a lot of space. During the war, that space was needed for important supplies. To save room, the government took pictures of all of the letters and only sent the film overseas. That's what the poster on the left is talking about. Once the film crossed the ocean, all of the letters were printed out again. This was called V-mail, and it worked very well. 20 pounds of mail could be turned into 5 ounces of film. It's a little bit like saving a very big book onto a tablet today. Or, really, it's kind of like the beginnings of email. Sometimes prisoners of war even helped over here. As the war went on, the United States also had prisoners of war to think about. Instead of keeping these men sitting in prison, they decided to use them to do work on farms. The prisoners could do some of the jobs that farmers had done before they joined the army. You can see both of these pictures are of prisoners of war. The top one was of some prisoners helping on a farm in Illinois. Did that really happen in Illinois? Yes. Prisoners were used to help in greenhouses and help pick crops like tomatoes. Sometimes people got upset, but without the help, the tomatoes would rot, and that really wouldn't be good for anybody. The war ends. People were very happy and excited when the war ended. They also had to think about what they wanted to do next. After 4 years of war, this was sometimes a hard choice. To help with the change, the government passed the GI Bill. This gave money to the returning soldiers so that they could go to college. It also gave them a chance to get a loan to buy a house. That's how we grew. Many people bought their first house in Buffalo Grove or Wheeling with a loan they got because of the GI Bill. That's the end of this program. If you thought the things about World War II airplanes training on Lake Michigan was cool, click on the link and it will show you even more neat stuff. If you have any other questions, email us at the museum. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for paying attention and have a very good day.